Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you guys are. I hope you're having a fantastic day. It's SoulSaint here, and we have the Fragment event calendar finally available for us as of today, February 10th, all the way up to the 24th. We're going to have some Fragment challenges going on for Esme the Dancers. Basically, it's going to be our fusion for the month, the couple. We already did a breakdown of it, so if you haven't seen that video, go ahead and take a look. I did want to kind of give like my general overall thoughts and consensus about this and about anything else that's kind of going on in the game that would kind of deter or make some adjustments along the way in terms of like your positioning when it comes to playing and fulfilling this event if you so happen to go for it. Now, with that being said, the fragments that are going to be available are a total of 125 you see at the bottom left there of the screen. As of right now, there's going to be a lot of different ways you can acquire, pretty much through tournaments, events. That's pretty natural. It's on par for the course. But there's also going to be a leaderboard for 10 additional ones and a hero's path with champion fragments. Now, that's something key that I want to kind of point out now before we go any further. Depending on what that hero's path is going to entail will really dictate a lot of what you're going to need to prioritize. Now, it's happening on a Friday, and if you haven't already kind of peeped it out, there really isn't any other summoning events or events that are going to kind of tailor around like a summon rush style approach. Normally inside fusions, you see a champion chase and a summon rush, basically about like a week spread apart, and they normally typically happen on the weekends, so like Friday going all the way through like Sunday, Monday. In this particular course, you see the champion chase on Saturday, but you also see Friday/Saturday, the 21st, but also on the February 14th, Friday, you see Heroes Path. So I would assume this is going to be a very shard-oriented Heroes Path event. So set your expectations accordingly. Anyways, with that being said, let's go ahead and break this down. Monday, February 10th, that's today, we have Spider's Tournament and Champ Training kind of going on at the same time. Now, you could do this in one of two ways. I'm going to give you the option number one. Option number one is you kind of just go ahead and neglect doing Spider Tournament for the first day, and you prioritize front-loading a lot of your champ training initially on Monday. Going into Tuesday, you can do Spider Tournament and Dungeon Divers together, and you kind of clear that out after the fact, and then from there, you kind of just pivot towards focusing and primarily prioritizing champ training after that. Option number two is you do a little bit of all three. You can, especially for those people who have like the solo build champions that can kind of solo the Spider Tournament, and you could add some food along the way to allow him to still farm and still get like points in all three areas, then you could definitely do that too as well. That's for like the more progressive accounts that actually have an established champion pool and have like the builds already kind of locked in. So temper your experiences and your stuff in resources really as effectively as you can be, because this is kind of what all that's going on. So on Tuesday, we have CBC. This is a great time to also consider delaying just doing anything, period, on Monday, and then just front-loading it from Tuesday onwards. Now, you have all the way up until Thursday for Spider Tournament, as well as Friday for Champ Training and Dungeon Divers event number 1. So plenty of like open space room for the next following days to kind of just truck along with it and keep a steady pace. Now, we do also get a gear enhancement event, which is basically the new phrasing for artifact enhancement, basically, in a sense. That's going to be going on Wednesday all the way up until Saturday, the 15th. This one pretty much is just a matter of how much silver you got. I generally hold a rule of thumb that you typically want to be roughly about like 15 mil plus per gear enhancement event. If you really want to be safe, set it up to like 20 mil per event. We are getting front-loaded with Spider Tournament, which means that you're going to be able to kind of front-load a lot of your silver intake during that period. You'll be able to acquire a lot because artifacts, or in particular accessories, are more valuable in terms of silver currency. So you'll be able to kind of bolster up some there and maybe pace yourself a little bit, you know? Be a little bit more prepared on that one. That'd probably be the best way to save for it. So Thursday, we do have an overlap with Dungeon Divers 1 because it's still ongoing, but Spider Tournament will end on the 13th, and then on the 13th as well, we also have Fire Tournament. I believe it's going to be active before Spider Tournament ends, so you could do a little bit of Spider to get that tournament done, and if there's anything left over for Dungeon Divers event, you can kind of front load or finish it off with Fire Night Tournament on the beginning and close to the tail end of DD1. That's pretty much kind of the long and short of it for that one until like way later. This is the only Dungeon Diver event it looks like we're going to be getting, so please keep that in mind. The Hero's Path, like I said, it's probably going to be shards. You may just see something else in terms of like maybe soul stones or some other accessible means. It could also be another Dungeon Divers event, considering we don't have any further DDs. So if I was a betting person, I would say it's a shard and artifact Dungeon Diver combination for the Hero's Path. So this is probably where you're going to be able to get some points, not only by pulling shards, but also a little bit of the Fire Knight side. So maybe a nice little nod. This might be a W from Plarium in terms of giving us a lot of variety. You know, maybe some people are kind of front-loaded in terms of like, I got resources to burn for dungeon farming, but I don't have shards, or I have shards but no energy. So you kind of get like the cup of all, you get everybody's cup filled in that sense. That's kind of a nice little variation compared to what we've had before. So kind of like that. I kind of like that if that's how they do it. Now, on Saturday, we also get Classic Arena Takedown number 1. This one's pretty much one of the easiest tournaments slash events you can kind of participate in. It's basically doing a good handful or two. I would say like roughly like 3 refills worth if you're winning all those fights effectively. You pretty much get through that pretty quickly, so it's kind of one of those things, gradual pace. If you're just doing your dailies pretty often and you're just kind of basically keeping your arena tokens on empty, you know, and keeping them depleted, then you'll get through this pretty easily. Now, if Hero's Path is also going to be a Dungeon Diver focused event, you got Fire Knight Tournament on the front end of it, but on the middle end, going into Sunday, you're going to have Dragon Tournament and Champ Training. Now, this is a great period to consider. What I would probably do is a trifecta, so like a triple dip in a sense, where you're going for a solo boss killer. Think Theodore, think Staltis, think champions that could do heavy poisons, Orgrim. The list goes on, right? And maybe even go down a couple stages to maybe not farming, you know, Dragon Hard 10. Maybe go down a little bit just so you can find a more secure, guaranteed way of being able to farm that dungeon with a solo farmer, and then you have food along the way on top of that. I think that's pretty much where I would go at with that, and then you pretty much complete the Hero's Path along with being able to do Dragon Tournament and Champion Training. Now, keep in mind that the Champ Training is going to be active all the way until Thursday, so whenever you see these bars, the way they are laced in this calendar, and they're elongated longer than the normal, say for instance the first training event that we got on Monday, and the one that we're getting on Sunday, that means that the point acquisition is going to be pretty costly. And I would say that this is where maybe your stockpile on brews will come in handy for maybe at least one portion, or spread out across both of them, or in general, you're just going to need to make sure you're stockpiled on energy to be prepared for this event. With that being said, we also have the Gear Enhancement Event number 2 on Sunday, which means that it's probably going to be just another drop your silver that you've collected over time. Dragon and Spider are pretty good for being able to acquire resources, and that's going to be a great way for you to be able to do a little bit more in terms of like acquiring pieces that you can kind of filter through and maybe enchant along the way / sell, and you get some rewards that can kind of compensate for the gear enhancement. So pretty decent in terms of layout. Going into Wednesday, though, we are going to have Ice Golem Tournament. This one seems to be a pretty standalone by itself, no matter how you look at it. So you get in there, get it done, move on. Thursday, we have Gear Enhancement number 3. So this is where the bulk of your silver is going to probably go if you're participating in this event. Just be pretty mindful of your pacing. I would do just enough in Gear Enhancement number 1 and number 2 so that you have a safety net going into 3 and you're chilling. But worst case scenario, you could just kind of farm a little extra in Ice Golem while you're processing that gear and selling it. You get some silver that can hopefully be used towards that. Now, during these tournaments and events, I typically would go get my rewards value out of the enhancement event and then stop enchanting. So no more like plussing up gear or anything like that until the next one, you know, where you establish getting actual rewards for doing it. So, you know, patience is a virtue in that regard. Now, with that being said, we also have on Friday, the final little bit of the stretch here is going to be a Champion Chase tournament. So this is going to be what you get, not what you pull. So I would say, you know, if you have any prepped up Broadmaws, if you have any prepped up Fragment Champions, you're going to want to fuse and get that going. This would be the time to consider that. And then, of course, pulling your RNG from shards could also help you out along the way. And then to wrap it all off, you got basically Classic Arena number 2. Very, very easy. This seems pretty consistent across the board. I like the nod to the Hero's Path. It would be cool if they would clarify that, and I'm not entirely sure if they did. I haven't heard any announcements saying that this is guaranteed to be a thing in terms of value. I will say, I believe we got some in-game news, which I'm going to go ahead and show you real quickly, about some Drop Fever events. Yep, they did say it. So I believe it's going to co-assign or co-align with the current calendar. Let's double check here. Monday, February 10th, we're going to have 3x for Barbarians from Spider's Den. That makes sense because that's actually working right now. That's what we have active. And then on the 13th, it's going to be Savage from Fire Knight, double 2x, which is also on par. It is a little off, actually. So Fire Knight tournament starts on the 13th. Oh no, that's accurate. Yeah, I'm over here looking at the dragon one. So February 13th is when Fire Night tournament starts. You're gonna get that. So it's gonna line up with all the tournaments pretty fairly well. Same thing with Sunday the 16th, which is when the dragon tournament starts. I'm looking at the calendar over here on the side here, and then of course you got Ice Golem on the 19th, which is when it starts as well. So yeah, it's gonna be pretty much congruent with the fusion itself. If you're looking to improve your gear, whether that's through speed or savage, it's a great time to do it. If you're looking for more accessories for the barbs, you can obviously go ahead and dip into that too as well. And then, of course, you got retaliation if that's something you're interested in. Not bad, not bad. Now, this fragment champion, whether you think she's good or not, if you are one of those kinds of people who are like FOMO or you're looking for consistency in your in like, you know, just having champions and whatnot, some things to keep in mind. Right now, with all the currently active things going on, definitely would say that if you're playing for CVC, especially since it's PR rewards, it's something to keep in mind whenever you're pushing, that if you're looking to win these rewards, you want to make sure you're kind of front-loading it, or not front-loading, but back-loading it while the CBC is active. So Monday could legitimately be throwaway, and I would caution you to consider that as an option when making your decision on when to use your resources. And that's pretty much the important thing about this game is resource management. At the end of the day, it's always important. I mean, look at me. I got like 130 energy, a couple of good gems to go along the way, but my silver's super depleted. So it makes me very cautious about, okay, am I in a safe place to be able to do this? Right now, it's kind of in the yellow. I'm not really doing too great right now. So it would behoove me to be very considerate of what I have to offer and the timing of when I use things. Now, in actuality too as well, right now we have a very, very important, in my opinion, especially if you're someone who's trying to be competitive, event dungeon. You know, the only place that you're able to get pinpoint at the moment is through this dungeon, and by getting involved with the fragment calendar, you are at risk of abusing resources or utilizing resources for stuff other than what the intended focus could be towards, which is pinpoint. And I would say, as a player who dabbles in spending, I am a spender at the end of the day. Even I am very aware of like how a lot of the market options for replenishing energy at the moment are very sparse. They're not really idealistic, and that makes me think that, okay, I'm gonna have to use reserves, which is where my gems come into play. And I would say I have to take a conscious evaluation of whether or not I am ready or willing to dip into this fragment while also trying to still get some more rewards out of a event dungeon. So something to keep in mind whenever you are making your decision. As always, if you're looking for the champion, by all means go for it. If you're looking to use your silver more efficient or your energy more efficiently to acquire specific sets like pinpoint, then of course you pivot towards that. But it comes at a cost. And unless you're willing to fill in that cost to take both, then you got to be a little careful about that, you know? So you're going to have to make sure you make your decisions ahead of time, and this is the time to do it. Before the first set of events end, you need to already be aware of whether or not you're going to go for this champion, and that's kind of something I want to caution anybody that's thinking about dipping into Esme the Dancer. So with that being said, I believe, for the most part, outside of pushing pretty hard for the champ training event, which is where you get your extra 10, you pretty much just have to stay the course, and you have to stay on track with majority of the events, and I think you'll pretty much end out with at least 100, maybe even a little bit more extra for, you know, either converting that into mod fragments or whatever the case would be as like a backup, you know. With that being said, I do think the champ training could also have something of very high value that's related to the events associated with the Alice in Wonderland campaign. So maybe there might be a champion acquisition. There could be a champion soul acquisition that's also available in there. It could also be associated to the partner Ogren that's going to be with Esme, Moto. It could be another grab at maybe Queen. I mean, there's a lot of variations where this could possibly be something of importance. So frugality is what I would say is probably the most important thing to keep in mind while we find out exactly what's coming up. So please pace yourselves. It's the best advice I can give you. Anyways, with that being said, are you guys going to go for this fragment event fusion? Are you going to go for the fusion in general? I'm actually really curious. And I'm going to be honest with you, I'm very indecisive right now about it. I'm not sure. It's better to have and not need than need not have, of course, but at the same time, too, I need my energy right now for a pinpoint. I still haven't found that god tier banger piece that I'm looking for, you know? So it would be nice to find it. Anyways, with that being said, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and as always, always remember, stay ascended.